Welcome, Richard, to the METALLERIUM website pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Unanimated, this new album, and more things relating to the metal world.
Thanks.
Starting with the question, the last two album, the last two Unanimated albums, like In the Light of Darkness from 2009 and this Victory in Blood, have a difference of 12 years. So why the band delayed 12 years to release a new album? And what it would like to be in a ring with an Unanimated in this century with two albums?
Oof. All into start with the same questions.
Yes.
No, understandable. First of all, we never intended to take this long. It was just a series of unfortunate events that led up to this long break. And it's fair to say it's all started almost right away after we released In the Light of Darkness. We parted way with our drummer, who was the original member of the band. And we brought Anders into the band right away. So, of course, there's some time that just went by, that. And then also at the time, Seth Tatum was our second guitar player. But at that time, he was very involved with Vatain, with the touring cycles and all that. So we said, it's okay. Take your time, do what you got to do. We wait for you, and time goes, right? And before we know it, 5 years had passed, and we were starting getting a little bit frustrated, not be able to really start working. And we had all these ideas. We want to go down in the rehearsal room and play. And so long story short, we brought Jonas into the band in 2016. And I would say from 2016 and forward to today, that's when the work really start working. That's when we start rehearsing as a band on a weekly basis in a rehearsal room, And then, of course, time goes fast. The older you get, time goes faster, man, right?
Yeah.
You're like, what? The fucking what? It's October already?
Yeah.
I remember it was January yesterday, but things took some time. But also at that point, to be honest, fuck, 5 years has already gone by, and you kind of fuck it, We do it when we're ready, At this point, it doesn't really matter, And our goal has never been to let's get an album out and let's get the name out there and let's get famous. And, it's all about making the music, And, but yeah, from 2016 forward, that's when we really start working. And then we released Annihilation EP in 2000 EP. And the plan was to go into the studio in October right after to start the recording. But for some reason, we pushed that. And before we know it, COVID, hello.
Yeah. So a detail that is a bit strange within, especially into the melodic black metal with the metal influence of them, especially from Sweden in the 90s, is that bands like Unanimated, like Dissection, Sacramentum, Dawn, Nalfgaard, and Winterland, and more things had a remarkable sound from there. So, but the years pass, and almost all the bands disappear, and just only Nalfgaard is still active since 1992. So, playing this style. So, what do you think this style disappeared in the 90s? Because then completely forgot for many people. And do you think with this revaluation of this increase to collect vinyls and tapes from the past musics, especially into this style will now have more successful than in the 90s?
Yeah, wow, that was a long question, but yeah, to start, I don't know why people changed, but of course, I think probably a lot of bands got away a little bit from that style to try to be more successful, try to gain a bigger audience and sell more records, probably. If that's your goal, why you're doing what you're doing, sure, that's a good recipe, right? But there's always going to be this handful of bands, like you mentioned, Dissection, Nagelfar, and ourselves that, we consider ourselves, hey, we're the old guard, we're the last of a kind. And for us, what we do, it's all natural for us. This is how we write music, and this is what's inspiring us,
Mm.
And And it's, of course, it's great to see after 30 years that there's still a lot of people into this music, you know. But I think there are other people labeling us as melodic death metal or black death or whatever you want more than ourselves, you know. We might refer to us as black death, you know. Eric from Batain said that to us, you know. But we just play what we want to play, you know, what makes us happy and what works for us, you know. I'm fully aware of the importance Ancient God of Evil had and the typical, the groundbreaking melodical death metal. A lot of bands were influenced by that, and it, you know. But for us, I think it was the epicenter of all melodic things we were doing, you know. Unanimated from day one, we always been different, never really fitted in. We always dealt with a lot of melodies, and I just think all of that just led up to Ancient God of Evil. And after that, I think we were kind of done with that, you know. We did it. It turned out maybe a little bit, now in hindsight, we might like, wow, that became a little bit too melodic and a little bit poppy maybe, but it's nothing that we're ashamed of. We're proud of the album. It's part of our legacy, but it might not be, you know, really what Unanimated was all about, you know. And like I said a few times, we always get referred to Ancient God of Evil and then moving forward, but never so much Ancient God of Evil and looking backwards. Because then I think things makes a lot more sense to people, you know. Oh, you changed so much after Ancient God of Evil. Did we? Maybe we got away from some of the elements, but I feel we get back more to our roots, where we come from and what inspiring us, you know, and what we believe in.
Okay, good. So into this matter of the past, one of the strongest blows from this musical style was the suicide from John Notbate. So how were those moments from your external point of view? And do you think that this suicide from John Notbate influenced in the 90s to disappear a bit, to disappear the style completely for these new years?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, Jung was a good friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time, and what happened, and what happened afterwards, I really don't know. You know, I don't know how to answer that, to be honest with you.
Okay. So
I like to talk good. I like to talk good things about Jung. You know, I refer to not discuss these things. You know, he's a friend of mine.
the band in the beginning has an anti-Christian positions with the
Sure,
covers
absolutely.
show up in your two first productions. Then you come back in 2009 and to this new record, the band changed the lyric idea and the focus vision to some darkness thoughts. So, what is the connection to the darkness concept to the actual concept during this pandemic we are living in? And when this kind and when these thoughts the bands are happy with this social distancing or whatever it is and these misanthropic subjects.
It had brought a lot of good things, like you just mentioned. You know, social distancing. That first year is the best year I had in a while. You know, I don't have to see a bunch of fucking people outside, and it was great out of that aspect. I don't think, of course, it's fair to say that the new album is probably the darkest album we ever done, more raw, more aggressive, but I don't really think the pandemic is part of that. I think it's more part of we're trying to be more and more honest who we are and what we are and what we like. Like you said, you know, those parts has always been in the band, right? Before, maybe they got a little bit more attention since 2009 and moving forward. I know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like I said, you know, we just wanted to do what felt natural for us. You know, what felt genuine and honest for us to do, and that was the result in the light of darkness and moving forward. Because that's what we're all about.
Okay, so relating the previous question, do you think that when a band leans towards to especially when I grown up in the 90s, in the 80s, when I listened for the first time a black metal band, the ideology comes first and the music comes later many times. And what do you think of those fans who enter a religion like Satanis for lyrics like the band from DSI, from Marduk, etc., etc.? Are there sheep from another flock just to be against the Christianity? Because sometimes it's very weird to see, to just understand Satanist lyrics from Marduk, and from then I'm a Satanist person that just against the Christianity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Uh, I can only speak for myself and for my band, right? But this has been something that's been a focus point from day one, and something that we were interested in and felt strongly for as young teenagers, right? This was something that we discovered and was start dwell deeper into as teenagers. Uh, and for me, Unanimated, obviously the music always comes first, right? But when you start thinking about lyrical concepts or ideas how to tie it all together, that was quite natural for our music that would be the focus point for the band. And I think as of today, I think Unanimated is a great tool for us. It's a great vessel for us to channel these expressions and thoughts that we have.
Mm. Okay, okay. So relating these kind of aspects, because when I was young in the 80s and the 90s, I usually go to I listened for the first at a band, and a special doom band or death metal or black metal band, and I went to the cemetery. I went to the woods. I went to sometimes as I even I drink blood for just for a curious thing to see what happened. So for you, how was the idea to be in an extreme metal band and related all the time this kind of matter, the cemetery, the darkness, the satanic, the blood, who knows?
Uh, like I said, that's something that's natural for us. That's something that could be inspiring and empowering as well. Uh, it's a way of life. It's not at this point in the game. Come on, we're always 50, right? You seem like yourself. It's not we're not in a position that we need to try to prove ourselves or trying to come up with an image for the band. It's not the game anymore at this time and around, at this stage of life. This is who we are and what we are. And like I said, all these things you mentioned, you where you get your inspiration from, whatever works. Like you said, woods and stuff like that. It could be very relieving to take walks or spend time in the woods in solitude, or dwelling with blood, or for whatever symbolic status that could have in what aspects you are doing those things, right?
Hmm. Okay, okay.
It's I know it's what's inspiring for us and how it works for us.
Okay, okay, okay. All right, we will talk about this new album a little, but in a different way because
Sure.
I don't really matter talk about the composition process, the cover art, this kind of because it's usually in all the interviews that you did. So, but we
Exactly.
try to
Thank
relate.
you.
We try to relate the cover art of this Victory in Blood, the death on a horse, an intense red color are the elements that many metal bands use around the world. So, what is
Yeah.
your concept of death and the color red? Could it be said that this is elements is a cliche for use, especially for the special for the death black metal elements, is especially a cliche for this kind of styles?
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, everything that's involved in extreme music today is a cliche. Everything has already been done. Nothing is shocking anymore, right? It's all been done. Is it the first time we see death painted on a cover? No. Is it the last time?
Mm.
Absolutely not. I think it's more important for us, at least, to what works for us and what symbolic and status that we see is fitting for us and the message it lies behind. But and like you said, the red color, it all has a meaning to us. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. It's not about nobody's gonna it's going to try to be original. There's nothing left to be done, right? It's all about trying to tighten it up in a good way that makes sense. And this makes sense for us, you know. It has a lot of symbolic for us, you know. Victory in Blood, the title, the cover artwork. What is the symbolic things between the title and the artwork? What is the red color? What symbolic stuff that has to the album? You know, there's a lot of things, you know. And like you said, death. You know, what is death? What does that death mean? You know, and these are things that are very close to us, you know, and death is a strong subject that we deal with a lot on this album in different aspects, you know. Death of yourself, death of others, death of all. You know, what does that mean? You know, what does that mean to you? I think our lyrics are open for different interpretation. I know what they mean to me. I know what they mean for the band, but also I think it could give the listener an opportunity to, what does it mean to you? How can you incorporate this in your thoughts and in your daily life, you know?
Great to hear that. Great to hear that. So, as I said in the first question, we will talk about other matters into the heavy metal because this heavy metal world grow up very fast with new forms of hearing music, new forms of collect like the vinyl and tape, this kind of stuff. So, and now the way of listening to music has changed drastically in recent years because the digital platforms have prompted fans, especially younger ones, to only choose 1, 2, 3, or 4 song maximums per album. And there is even talk that bands should no longer record albums if they don't need if they don't need it, and just to record singles. So how do you think this could affect the way we will make music in the near future? What does band needs to do to motivate the listeners to hear all songs in an album?
That's a great point you have there, and I think all that is disgust. It disgusts me, you know. You know, we both come from, you know, from the old school, you know, back in the day, and I think a lot of that has vanished up till today. You know, like you said, bands are only releasing singles, and I don't even think in those terms. You know, it's maybe because we've been around for so long that we may be stuck in the past. Call it what you want, but this is what makes sense to us, you know, and makes sense for me, you know. You just never, hey, let's release. Why would you just release a single? Are you a rock band? Are you a pop band? I mean, are you trying to, what kind of audience? I mean, I don't understand. Why are you doing what you're doing, you know? Ask yourself those questions. What are your motivations for being in a band? What are your motivations for being creative and and do the things you do, you know? What goals are you trying to achieve? For me, for us, it's about doing an album, right? To release a new full-length album. That's how I grew up, and that's what I believe is right, you know? I'm shocked that we are releasing 3 videos for our new album, you know? It's like, whoa, that's a little bit much, isn't it? That's a lot of exposure. But that's how the world turns right now. That's what the record companies want, you know? Mm-hmm. I don't think we fit in today's society and today's music business very much, you know. I think we see ourselves fit in a little bit more probably in the underground, even though we have a deal with Central Media. We're releasing videos, we're doing interviews and all this stuff, but that's part of the game nowadays, right? You can't get away from that. But just releasing singles, I don't even know why, you know. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's important for us to release a new album.
Yeah.
When I grew up, I bought an album and I was waiting for the next album to come. I didn't want to hear one song and another song or just here's a new video. I mean, let's be honest here, you know, we know why they're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's a bit.
This is not motivating me, right?
Yeah.
I have a job that gives me.
Yes.
I do this because I have to do this. I have to.
Yeah, that's very nice. That's a very good point. So, we talk about the musical platforms. However, there is another trend on other side in which old formats such as a cassette or vinyl are reverted, which together with CD become practically only collector's items. So, do you consume any of these formats? And what is your format? What is your favorite one?
Vinyls, of course, they're right there.
Nice.
No, I was doing an interview earlier today, and we were talking about the designs. And when we release a new album and when we start with the design of everything, I only think vinyl, not CD. We design it for an album, for a vinyl release, and then we take it down to a CD, because that's how I grew up. When I went and bought Sarcophago, didn't come on a cassette or a CD. I bought the vinyl. When Possessed released Seven Churches, or we go on all day, but you bought an album, and I still like that feeling. I'm a metal fan. I'm a collector, and I want to keep it that way.
Mm.
It makes me nauseated and disgusted. But Spotify, this and YouTube's and all these different formats and social media. I had a big blow up with a record company the other day because there was some digital advertisement, and you got to go in and do a business Facebook, and I'm like, what happened here?
The camera's
Hello?
on. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I got a phone call.
Okay.
I just refused. I said, it ain't happening. And if this is what the music world has come to, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want nothing to be, I don't want this. If you can deal with this shit, I don't give a shit, It's not how I like things, It's not how we like things, And at some point you put your foot down and said, you know what, fuck that shit, I don't care. God damn it, phone calls.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? We like the old ways, They make sense for us, I'm not a big fan of what it turned into today, Luckily, there's still a lot of good bands out there from the old days. There's a lot of old bands out there, We know what motivates them.
Yes, that's true.
So
That's true.
if that makes any sense.
Okay, so many times when I did interviews, most of the musicians of the bands interviewed did not listen what is currently happening to the heavy metal today, and that's why many bands of these years are lost in time for these common thoughts. So, what do you think of the idea of being an extreme metal band and not listening the current music into the style? Do you think this is necessary to close to the world up to compose better things?
I mean, of course, we are aware of what's going on in the music world and all that. We don't get very inspired of it, maybe. Like I said earlier, it's more important to be honest to ourselves. What we like, and for good or bad, we get our inspiration from within and also from music we grew up with, older music, more than what's going on in the scene today. Because like I said recently, we're not a fan of how the scene or how the music business works nowadays, with all social media. I don't want to see the bands that I listen to. I don't want to see what they had for breakfast, I don't want to see a picture of them fucking out fishing, and it takes away a little bit of the mystique of the band, And I think we get more inspirational from the old days and from old bands and from what's going on in the underground world, to see that fire is still burning out there. But at the end of the day, the inspirations come from within ourselves, not so much what's going on around us. And if that's good or bad, it works for us. And it might sound like a douchey thing to say, but I just don't care, man. I just don't. You know what I mean? I just don't.
Yeah.
I just want to, we just want to do what we want to do, I don't care about that other stuff, Fuck it.
Okay, a question beyond the unanimated matters. I saw years ago that this member ended their career with albums and more things related. But I see during the last month or 1 year that the band is very active with its shows in US, Mexico, Europe, and more places. So maybe it's there an intention to launch or to release a new dismember production or album for the future? Or what is the reason to being active as a band again? Especially for the live shows.
That was something that was brought to life a couple of years ago now, and basically we start talking to one another again after a long time, and hey, we should play together, let's have fun. It was, let's do some shows, and people seem to happy about it, and I think that's about it, and again, this is about Unanimated, but there's a lot of plans for Dismember in the future, if there's new albums or not, but we got a lot of shows booked for next year, and we got a lot of cool stuff happening with Dismember in the future as well, so keep your eyes and ears open for that too. We're not going away anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you much for that info, because I'm a huge fan from Dismember and from Unanimated too. So,
cool.
Related from Unanimated, and before we finish this interview, what are the future plans for Unanimated? Perhaps a tour here in Latin America, and which bands do you?
That'd be great.
And which bands do you know from this part of the world? Apart from the usual suspects like Sepultura, Crisium, Sarcophago, etc.
South America has always, from the mid 80s, always had a special place in our hearts, and of course due to early Sepultura, but also from the mighty Sarcophago, that's where the bar was set for me, when I was 14 years old and heard that album, it rocked my world. This is how music's supposed to be, South America has a great scene. The best shows I've done in my life has always been in South America. The audience is fucking crazy. We are crazy. Perfect mix. There's a great band, Holocausto Volcano. We can sit there all day long, Mystifier. It's fucking great stuff, man.
Okay.
You're from Peru, right?
Yes, I'm from Peru.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, man. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a special place it's a special place, South America, We love it, I would love to go and do shows with Unanimated in South America, much more than playing in Europe. I played in Europe so many times. How many shows can you do in Germany? You know what to expect, Yeah. I'd rather go in fucking Peru, Ecuador, Guatemala, Honduras, Argentina, Chile, fucking Brazil, all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, Richard, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one as I did. And thank you very much for your time. This new album's a great one as usually. And any last words for your fans here that expect so many times with Unanimated playing on a full tour here with Unanimated, and for all METALLERIUM readers?
My last message to all our South American friends, thanks for all the support throughout the years, and check out the new fucking album, and hopefully we can come down there and do some shows and see you guys, and do some fucking killer ass show and fucking raise the banner of metal or death.